It's Jennifer Lopez like you've never seen her before. And Kiss of the Spider Woman. This is yet another version of this. There was one that came out like mid 80s with William Hurt.
Yes, it was. Yeah. There was the novel by Manuel Puig. There was the 80s movie with William Hurt that won him an Academy Award. Then there was the stage musical from Condon and Ebb, and now this is the movie version of the stage musical of the movie of the novel. It's like MAME.
Yeah. So it's in theaters this weekend. A lot of awards buzz about this movie. Alonso is going to review it with me, but cannot give it a number.
Correct. I have known the director and his husband for a very long time, so I will recuse myself. But as I always say when this kind of thing comes up, if I didn't like the movie, I wouldn't be talking about it at all. But I do, so I do want to talk about how great it is, and then, but it would be wrong for me to give it a score at the end.
Got it. Take it away.
I'm sorry to break the news. Nobody sings in real life.
Well, maybe they should.
As in all the versions, this is set in a political prison in what in the past has been an unnamed country, but we are told this is Argentina in the early 1980s. There is a prisoner named Valentin who is very much politically involved. And he gets a new cellmate, a window dresser named Molina, who is gay and who lives in, loves, fantasy and movies and movie stars, especially Ingrid Luna, the greatest of the Latin American movie stars. And he proceeds to entertain Valentin at first begrudgingly, but soon Valentin is kind of into it, with the story of Molina's favorite movie, The Kiss of the Spider Woman. And so you get a musical within a musical or a musical within a movie, cutting back and forth between the very harsh conditions of the political prison and the high gloss Technicolor of the singing and dancing, and the story that's being told in the film that Molina is recounting. Of course, those two stories overlap a bit. Molina and Valentin find themselves as characters within that movie that Molina is talking about. And ultimately, it's a film about the various degrees of political involvement and political sacrifice, and about the power of escapism and joy when the government is constantly trying to crush you within its, under its heel. So, what that has to do with 2025, I have no idea, but here we go anyway.
I was really impressed by the tonal balance here because, as you say, it goes back and forth between really unflinchingly harsh conditions in this prison and then just the incredible splendor, like the Technicolor magnificence of the costumes. Colleen Atwood did the costume design, and it is a great role for all that Jennifer Lopez can do, although it's a really different kind of performance. Like, you think of her being this multi-threat, singing and dancing and acting, she can do it all, but like the dancing is very different here, and she is transformed here. Her body looks totally different. It's a different kind of dancing for her, even for somebody for who this has been her bread and butter for her entire life. It's really cool to see her reinvigorated in this way.
Yeah, she is stepping into kind of a Sid Charisse role, so the dancing she is doing is not what you're used to, like from her videos or her concerts. It is very old school MGM style choreography with old school MGM style costuming and makeup and all that kind of stuff. And I think Condon is one of the few directors who could really get that balance right in terms of, not being afraid of the just grungy horrors of that prison, but at the same time also being able to really recapture the specific sheen. Like, there are certain numbers where you're like, okay, this is that part in Singing in the Rain or that part in An American Paris where, like, you can tell what they're referencing, but it never feels like it's just this parade of pastiche. Like, this is a thing that's been made up and it is in the vein of, but he's making his own thing. And of course, Condon has experience with Condon and Ebb, having written the screenplay to Chicago, back in 2000. And that was a film where a lot of people had tried to make that movie and nobody quite cracked it. And what Condon brought to it that made it play was the idea that the musical numbers were all taking place inside of Roxy's imagination. That Renee Zellweger would look at the stage and suddenly imagine herself in a number or things turning into a number. Because I think a lot of times for musicals, there's that thing of like, how do we get from here to here? It's baked into Kiss of the Spider Woman because it is literally somebody telling the story of a musical that he loves. But in the same way that it's about, the power of Roxy Hart's imagination. This movie is about the power of imagination and creativity to get us through hard political times.
Yeah. And so it can be wildly over the top because it's his adoring interpretation of this thing.
Right.
I mean, who knows what the real movie actually looked like.
Exactly. It's the way he remembers it. Yeah. And how he wants it to be.
In his mind, it's like this incredible spectacle. And so that's thrilling for us to get swept away on that. Tonatiuh. Wow. Is a star.
This is, we talk about star making performances. This guy is nailing it in this movie. I had never heard of him before. I've never seen him before. I've only seen a few episodes of Vita, which I know he was on that show, but holy crap, he is asked to do so much here and is the linchpin of this whole movie. His performance as Molina, as the character in the film that he's playing, in other musical numbers that aren't part of the movie, but that are part of his, coping mechanism of dealing with the political prison. It is astonishing. This is like one of the great, sort of leading man debuts in recent memories. Yeah,
because it's so technically precise and so different in each instance, depending on which version of himself or the movie character he's playing. There's a song he does, this She's a Woman song.
Yeah.
He has the voice of an angel. He is beautiful. And then this voice comes out of him that is like richly textured, but also like kind of plaintive and vulnerable at the same time. Like he's so good and is holding his own opposite like Diego Luna and Jennifer Lopez.
He's totally holding up next to them, and they're great too. Like Diego Luna is called upon to do. I've never seen him sing and dance before, but he's doing it here. But he's also really bringing you the vibrant inner life of this political, revolutionary that he's playing. And what's really great about Tonatiuh's performance is that William Hurt's Oscar turn in the original non-musical film version plays into a lot of like tragic queer tropes that it was the 80s and that's what we were doing, but here I think, this is a character who is on the one hand, being ground down by the system, being unashamedly queer in a macho culture and in a politically repressive culture that is wanting him to suffer for that. But it also, I think, kind of understands the transness of Molina in a way that the earlier film version couldn't or wouldn't. But that, he's allowed to not just, wear a dressing gown and, make big gesticulations with his hand, but like we come to understand the sort of gender journey that Molina is on. And so I think the film is really honest in that way and really, empathetic and understanding of this character in a way that we haven't seen before in other adaptations.
Yeah. And he and Diego Luna have such a beautiful chemistry with each other because really it is just the two of them for, a lot of this film in this small space. And that relationship changes in ways, of course, this is on the page, but also it's that performance between the two of them. It evolves in ways that it takes a journey and you believe where it ends up. Emotionally, physically, like that made total sense to me. And all of that is better than the movie within the movie. And I guess that's part of the point is that the actual movie within the movie isn't that great.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be. It's always supposed to be kind of like fluffy nonsense, but its existence and the fact that not only is Molina carried away in talking about it, but that Valentine finds himself swept up in caring what happens about the characters, even though he begins very dismissive and very like, whatever, because he's all about the struggle, and he's always reading his, books of Lenin or whatever, that even he can sort of see the appeal of like this, listening to this and visualizing this in my mind is taking me out of this cell, for the moment, for the time that it's happening. And that's an important part of how the revolution works, that we have to imagine a better world. We have to free ourselves from, even whether you are literally being tortured and having to like mentally go somewhere else, or just you are being crushed by the system and have to, aspire to something better. Molina's fantasy becomes more important to him as the story goes along.
Yeah. And despite all of the, wild flights of fancy here, like that last shot and that last title card, like they packs an oomph there at the end. It's a beautiful final shot. Yeah, everyone's great in this, and it's very entertaining. And that one number that's like the Judy Garland kind of number with like the hat and the little.
The summer stock, yeah.
Yes, love it. Very cool. So I'm going to say like an 8.3. I enjoyed it. I know you can't give a number, but I really, really enjoyed it. But the more was going back to like the plotting of the movie within the movie, as far as like what happens with the Spider-Woman, like that kind of lost me. But when it's like the razzle dazzle of the production numbers, I was into it. So.
Yeah, I think when we talk about degree of difficulty, this movie is really shooting high and I think hitting its marks in a way that's really impressive.
No pun intended. It's hitting its marks. All right. So Kiss of the Spider-Woman is one of the 10,000 movies that are opening this weekend in theaters. But, this time of year, it's a lot of really heavy stuff. So if you would like some escapism of your own, maybe this is a good choice for you.
And it is a big screen experience in the way that classic musicals have always been. So if you're one of those people that weighs like, do I wait and watch this streaming? Put this high on the list of like, no. I need to let this movie, be larger than my field of vision because it pays off in that way.